to any of the causes that Wishwa showcases on its platform wishwa.org. You could, Annadanam for instance, there are a lot of people across the country who, when they go to hospitals, they come up from far off regions, and the little money they have, they keep it aside for the treatment of the patient. They sleep on platforms, they hardly eat anything. And we give them food every afternoon on Fridays, and it makes a lot of difference. There are similar such fundraisers. Please feel free to celebrate your loved ones with any of these causes.
Wishwa's commitment towards zero waste and the long way to go in achieving the goal begins with our material donation drive. Conducted twice a year during Diwali and Ugadi in Hyderabad, this drive collects clothes, books, toys and other used or semi-used items for the underprivileged. Contributions from over 615 plus families have benefited around 2,800 individuals, providing essential items and support, bringing hope and dignity to them. Through these efforts, we transform the waste of some into the treasure of others, promoting sustainability and community welfare.
Namaskar. A very good morning and welcome to WishwaTalks. My name is Trishant, and thank you all for attending today's event on Zoom and to those watching on YouTube Live. For those of you who have attended a WishwaTalk before, a warm welcome back, and for our new joinees, here's a little bit about us. WishwaTalks is a platform to create awareness amongst people and to protect our social heritage and to let people make their own decisions. Here we invite experts to discuss and explore diverse opinions, different perspectives, various issues, problems, and their solutions on various fields, including art and culture, healthcare, environment, education, and many more. Each webinar is an interactive session with a deeper understanding of the topic at hand. If you miss any part of the session or would like to go through the previous sessions, please visit our website, wishwa.org, or WishwaTalks YouTube channel for a full library of past WishwaTalks on various interesting topics. Today, it is my privilege to introduce someone who has spent more than 2 decades helping people understand themselves better, navigate challenges with resilience, and create meaningful change in their lives. Imagine a professional journey that began with a deep curiosity about human behavior and evolved into a lifelong mission of helping individuals and organizations thrive. That is the journey of Ms. Manisha Dayanand, founder and lead consultant of Srishti Hyderabad. Over the last 25 plus years, she has worked alongside individuals, leaders, and organizations as a psychologist, coach, counselor, and facilitator. What began as a deep interest in human behavior grew into a lifelong journey of transformation, impacting thousands of lives through 10,000 plus hours of training and 7,500 plus hours of coaching and counseling. As the founder and lead consultant of Srishti Hyderabad, Manisha Ma'am has worked with leading organizations such as Amazon, Intel, HSBC, Tata Steel, Dr. Reddy's, Capgemini, and many others, helping people build resilience, leadership, emotional well-being, and meaningful workplace relationships. Her expertise is backed by advanced training in psychology, coaching, and behavioral sciences, and she's also an alumna of the prestigious Goldman Sachs ISV 10,000 Women Entrepreneurship Program. And because learning never stops for her, she has recently been trained to lead the Forgiveness Path to Freedom workshop created by Dr. G. L. Sampurna, a psychologist who has spent nearly 40 years researching and teaching the transformative power of forgiveness. Today, she brings not just qualifications and experience, but a deep passion for helping people find freedom from emotional burdens and move towards greater peace and well-being. Please join me in warmly welcoming Ms. Manisha Dayanand to share her insights on the science behind manifestation. Good morning again, ma'am.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. And I hesitatingly say warm welcome, given the warm climate weather we have right now in Hyderabad. But I'm happy to be here sharing my learning and experience of what I've gathered. And I'm excited to also see what insights come from listening to everybody. Give me a second and I'll have the presentation on the screen for you. It's taking a minute. Here we go. Let me know once you are able to see the screen. Yeah? Okay.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
All right. Okay. For some reason, my screen seems to be black.
Give it a second, maybe.
We'll share
It
it.
could restart.
Okay. I'm unable to understand. Sorry, give me a second. Something seems to be with the screen because I'm not able to see my screen at all. Can you remove me from the spotlight? Maybe that's the reason. Is it possible? Just let's try that.
Pratyusha, please.
Yeah. Oops. Okay, you know what? I'm going to just go ahead
Ma'am,
and
you can just check on the top if you see meeting and your screen option. So there must be two tabs.
yeah. No, so I
One is
can, there is a show meeting and a hide. It's just blank black screen and I have just done the dry run. So I know that the screen was working fine and you can see it.
Can I request Pratyusha to host, share the screen?
Yes, please. Can you do that?
Sure. Yes. Pratyusha, kindly share the presentation on your screen, please.
Okay.
Ma'am, okay, I can see you in the presentation right now. Can you see your screen?
Yeah, I was just trying to look at what I can do in the presentation part. Would you be okay if I went ahead with the talk without the screen? Because right now I think we would be using more time trying to.
Not a problem.
Let me try
Pratyusha,
one. Let me try this
sure.
one. This is a perfect start to the conversation we are about to have. From thoughts to so I know you can see the screen because I'm getting a message that you're sharing the screen, but I can't see it. My screen is absolutely blank. So what I'll do is I have my notes. I can go through that. So Pratyusha, will you go ahead and share the screen? And
Can you please share the PPT with her?
okay. I've just shared it on the WhatsApp. All right, so meanwhile the slides are coming up, let me just ask some of you to share what do you think about today's topic, manifesting, the science behind manifestation, from thoughts to result. What is it that we do know when, what do we think when we hear the word manifestation? Yes, I feel so much better. Thank you. So we can go to the next part. I would love it if you could, unmute and speak or share your thoughts. That makes it that much more enriching and interesting. But otherwise, welcome. It's a great time to start. Though we've lost a little time, I'll make sure you get all the content you need to. So this talk is not about magical thinking or manifestation as we hear like a buzzword nowadays. I'm attracting, the law of attraction. I'm not going to dismiss those things and say that they have no meaning. There is a different perspective and approach to it. A lot of it is experiential and driven by people's descriptions and statements and their lived experiences. So I'm not going to say that it's all nonsense, because I have some lived experiences too. And yet, the way our brain is designed, it works better when it can make sense of things. So in a way, if you're a firm believer of law of attraction and manifestation, and then things come to me just by my thinking, um, you might find some new things that you learn here. And for those of you who think there is nothing in it, you might be convinced into changing and finding a balance between those thoughts, as well as how you can use the power of your mind. The next slide, please. So today what we're going to do is we are going to look at the session objectives. We will look at the science and the psychology behind manifestation, explore neuroplasticity, habits and mindsets, and look at some practical tools for how do we take intentional action, actions that give you more success. Next slide, please. Yes. So think of one achievement that felt impossible at some point of time for you. It could be at any point of time. And I think one which we may not be able to think, but was felt impossible, was when we learned how to walk. And when we were babies, I think to a baby, if it could really think, it seemed almost impossible to be lying down to become sitting and then vertical and then walking and running. To the baby, that doesn't look impossible, right? So what do you think is your attribution to that success? I'm sure you overcome it. And you, when I say achievement, means you've got that. Any thoughts on what led to that achievement? How did you get it? Okay, getting up at 4 a.m. So what did you do? What made it possible for you? Okay, curiosity. I see one response there. Efforts, yeah. Some people are great on efforts and discipline, and they can almost override any kind of brain circuitry to make sure that they will get what they want. But even that is a habit. That is something they learn, that by doing that, I can overcome almost everything. Consistency, yes, those are habits, absolutely. Just decided and started acting on it without thinking. Well, I'd like to think that that's how it would be, but almost actually everything begins with a thought at the conscious, subconscious, at some level in your head. Nothing begins without thinking. All of creation, you look around you, all of achievements, you look around you, there was some amount of thought that you put into it, including discipline. Absolutely, Abhishek, I agree with you. So everything goes back to our thoughts. So when we understand that, let's take a look at how do we use these thoughts to work for us. Okay, moving out of the city. All right, decision or thought. Okay, so let's look at the next slide, please. So when we talk about manifestation, uh, we're talking not about something just out of materializing out of thin air. Manifestation is also it's a balance between intention and action. It can't only be intention and thinking in my head, and it only is not action. Even if a person thinks, I don't think, I just act, you're not aware of your thinking. I'm sure you know that there are thoughts that run everything in our life. Okay, so let's look at some of these points. Pratyusha, could you just take them forward, please? You can get them all up at a time so that I don't ask you to do that again and again. Thank you. So manifestation is not passive wishing. It's not just thinking things into existence. It is not magical attraction in the way I'm looking at it right now. If you were to look at it from the spiritual perspective, that's different. But you want to know what's really behind manifestation. It's attention direction. What I'm looking for is looking for me. I'm sure you've heard that line. Wherever attention goes, energy flows. Those are the statements you want to kind of be more grounded in, because that leads to us focusing on something, whatever that goal and outcome we're looking for, and then achieving it. Manifestation is a belief driven behavior. It's goal oriented action. It is consistent action. Right? Now, that doesn't mean there is no role that our brain plays. It plays a very, very big role. If it was only action, trust me, I would have lost 20 kgs of weight by now. But that doesn't work, because somewhere in the other, the brain interferes, your thoughts interfere, your beliefs come into play. And unless you align all of them, you might realize that you end up with half achievements or no achievement. And wherever you have achieved, you will notice there is an alignment that existed between these things. So let's look at what is it that we want to focus on. The next slide, please. Have you heard of this word, the self-fulfilling prophecy? Yeah, it's kind of, so let's just go ahead and animate the full slide, Pratyusha. I think I won't be able to tell you. So every time you change the slide, just animate the whole thing, put it out. So a student who believes, for example, I'm terrible in presentation. Now take a moment as I'm talking about this example to think about yourself. What are some of the beliefs that you hold about you? So that belief drives your perception, drives your behavior, drives your thoughts. So a student who believes I'm terrible at presentations avoids practice, because what's the point? I'm no good at it. Becomes anxious. And what happens when you're anxious and giving a presentation? For example, I started with this whole technical glitch of presentation not going through. And if I were to get anxious, obviously I would lose the train of my thought. All my preparation and the work that I did won't go as well. Of course, the slides presenting this way are not aligned with what I had in mind. But rather than focusing and becoming anxious about that, if I focus on I believe what I can do, that changes it. But in this example, the more you're focused on what I can't do, leads to more negative results. And what happens when you have negative results? Your belief is reinforced. See, I messed up. I couldn't do it. So what is a belief? When I ask, what is a belief? What's the difference between thoughts and beliefs? Let's hear some quick thoughts from you. What is a belief? Having faith in yourself, okay? Belief is closer to our identity, okay? It is, yes, it's all of those things. But if I were to explain the word belief, thoughts are random, beliefs are not random. They are conscious, sometimes unconscious, but they're consistent. Thoughts can keep changing. So if I think, yeah, thoughts can change, yes, so can beliefs. But the thing is, when we keep thinking a thought repetitively again and again, and then it goes through this kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, it becomes a belief. We no longer question it. Now the belief exists in our head as truth because it's now become a lived experience. And that is why we have all these statements that we make. Oh, I'm very shy. I'm confident. Oh, I don't think I can ever lose weight. Oh, I don't. I have tried. Trust me, believe me, I can't get through this. Or I can. So it could be a positive or a negative belief. But a belief is very tightly held, repeated thought that we know and we believe is true because it's been verified. Okay, so let me give you another example of self-fulfilling prophecy. So there's the psychologist Robert Rosenthal and a principal of school, Leonard, I guess that's his name, Jacobson. What they did is that in a primary school where the class 1, class 2 students were there, they did administered a IQ test. And they falsely told the teachers that about 20% of these students were unusual potential, they had unusual potential for academic growth. In realities, these were randomly selected subjects. There was no evidence to it. They did not have that kind of IQ. What was the result? By the end of the semesters, the randomly selected students showed greater academic growth. They showed higher IQ gains to their peers, proving that positive expectations dramatically shape reality. So what is this is called the Pygmalion effect, where high expectations lead to a measurable increase in performance. So people who expect a higher result from, like say managers who expect higher result from their team tend to get that. Obviously, if it works in the positive way, it would also work in the if it was a negatively held belief. In case of individuals, when they have high expectations from themselves, then that self-belief directs or dictates their performance. So those who believe I'm very disciplined tend to automatically find that, oh, they get up and they do things and things move fast for them, right? So the first rule is what to look at. What do I expect? If there isn't something I want to see in reality as an outcome in my life, what are my closely held beliefs? And to examine, am I setting myself up for failure even before I begin? Or do I have my thought orientation, beliefs, or expectation to success in place? If I don't expect to succeed, doubtful that it's happening. Okay, next slide, please. So what can we do about this? So let's look at how this actually connects to our brain. Now, thoughts and beliefs are some things we can't measure, but the biology of it is that we have something called the reticular activating system. It connects the spinal cord and the brain. It's like the gateway of our consciousness. You have the capacity, or your brain actually receives about 11 million bits of information per second, mostly from your sight and sound and touch. The brain's capacity to process is about 40 to 50 bits per second. So what do you think happens to everything else? It's regulated, it's monitored by this gateway. It eliminates the excess that it thinks is not needed. The RAS will only allow 40 to 50 bits so that it doesn't overwhelm the brain. And what is its job? Its job is to get the brain to wake up and pay attention to whatever it needs to pay attention to. For example, you are at a party and there is a lot of noise and things happening. And all of a sudden, in all that noise, somebody says, let's say, your name. What happens? Immediately your attention goes because you heard your name. The noise is the same. Why? Because your brain or your reticular activating system is aligned to or is cued in to pick up the sound of your name and to make your brain alert to notice it more. Sometimes there are two people with same names in a room, and every time one person is called, you'll notice both attending, because that's our alignment. So how does this work? If I believe I'm disciplined, if I believe I can be successful, if I believe that I'm not confident, these are your um, programmed beliefs, which this gatekeeper holds close to itself. It's like there's a gate pass. They have a gate pass. All the thoughts, everything that is in alignment with these beliefs is allowed into your consciousness. They can just walk in and out any number of times. They have like a permanent gate pass. So somebody, let's say, who believes that I'm not good looking, or they have a belief that no, I'm not pretty, or I'm not smart, and they get a compliment which says, oh, you're looking so good today. What do you think happens? What do they do? What do they do? Do they just accept? Yes, please go ahead and unmute and answer. They won't believe that. Yeah. I can see one guest has raised a hand. Please unmute and speak. You're absolutely fine, just fine. Okay, so no matter, they might be hesitant and give an awkward smile, all right? They'll make excuses. Yeah, actually today, maybe the light, maybe the dress, maybe the color, maybe this, maybe why. I don't know. Or even if they don't say anything, even if they smile and say thank you, the RS will discard that because it's not inconsistent with the belief. So no matter how many, and there might be other people in the family, or let's say friends, who say, I don't know why you don't believe me. How many times I've told you, you don't need to worry. You're fine. You look smart. You're good. You're intelligent, whatever. But it somehow never seems to register. The reason is, unless you make a conscious effort to reprogram this belief, to re-examine, recheck its validity, and create a new gate pass for this belief now, it's not going to get entry. The brain will discard this as, or RS will discard this as one-off case. So now there are people. Now let me link this to something that you might have heard. Have you heard about positive affirmations? If I repeat something a number of times, it will become true and I can attract that to myself. Heard that part? I will take your answer as yes, because that seems to be the buzzword around. What's really happening there? It's like when we start repeating affirmations, the RS kind of starts becoming aware of something new. When we program it enough number of times and we say it enough number of times, it's like a gate pass is generated. And then the brain starts noticing and things starts happening. For example, if I tell you and that when you go out today, after, let's say you're going out after the session, do not look for red cars. What do you see? What does your brain notice? Red cars. Let's say you want to buy a specific car and you've been taking a lot of interest. So, the key word here is your interest and your involvement, your emotions and all of that. The RAS makes very quick changes when it notices you are interested in making that change. So let's say you want to buy a car, a Mahindra EV. What happens when you go out on the road? You see only Mahindra EVs all around you. So think of this RAS as unbiased gatekeeper. It will allow whatever you want into the consciousness. But it is a regulatory body. It's a regulatory system. So it's whatever it has been programmed to till now, it will allow that. It's responsible for your survival. Wherever there is threat, wherever there is any kind of a challenge, this takes kind of control. Make sure that your brain, your body, all the things that need to get alerted are ready for you. Okay, so that's about your gatekeeper. Okay, so let's apply this to the previous example of teaching. So what happened? The teachers were given to believe that 20% of students are academically gifted. What do you think they did, the teachers, when this is a belief they have? They would notice students who are doing well. What would they do? I believe they are gifted. They would give them extra work, extra attention, possibly give them more approval or smiles. It is how it is, which is the climate factor, creating that climate for them. The students, what happens with them? They are receiving positive reinforcement. They are getting focus, attention, extra exercise, guidance, coaching, mentoring, and all that growth. They respond also with better development. All right. So that's how the RS work. So the self-fulfilling prophecy, in a way, is directly linked to your reticular activating system. So I see a question there. Let me take that now. Why do we see angel numbers from very longer time? That to all. So that's because that's what your brain or your activating system is primed to. You do see all other numbers as well, but your RAS has learned to alert you to 11:11, to 10:10. It's not like you're not seeing other time. All through the day, you are looking at time. But if you want to understand this from the RAS perspective, it's just that you're primed, or your brain is now primed to look at it. So it notices that much more. Okay. If there is a positive belief attached to it, that if I see angel numbers, then my work's going to get done. That's a positive belief. And then probably that self-fulfilling prophecy comes into play where it will get done. Okay, so we'll take up that question towards the end, Abhishek. Okay, I'll go to the next part. One more point I want to explain, and then we'll get into the practical of how do we work it. Right? So the next part is the good news part. The next slide. The fact that you can change and program your brain at any point of time in your life, irrespective of what your biological age may be. Okay. So what you've learned so far is that there is a gateway, and there is something which is there, and already it is programmed, and we tend to therefore live our life through those beliefs that we hold now. The next thing that I want to tell you is that you can make changes in that by making changes in the way you understand the brain. Brain changes through repeated behavior and repeated thinking. So, Abhishek, how you asked me how many repetitions is a proof? The number of repetitions till it becomes a strong enough belief, till you start noticing. Let's say I want to say that I believe that people are friendly and nice. And I want to and prior held belief was that I have to be watchful. I don't know, I don't know, I don't trust strangers. So if I'm making that change, obviously my first belief has got evidence, has enough experiences that it has registered. Now, the first shift you need is to make the conscious change of thinking, repeating the belief. If you look at this new skill in frequent activity, you see the synaptic connection is just weak. There is one, just maybe one. If I've repeated 1-2 times, it's only once. But if you look at a practiced or a skilled image on the right side, you see the neurons connecting in a much more strengthened way. So if we repeat it enough number of times, now we have 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day, out of which about 30 to 40,000 are repeated loops and thoughts. Some of them are beyond us conscious awareness, could be subconscious. So I don't know if there's a number. People say 300, 100, 200, 500,000 every day. I'd say that if you are ready to put your belief behind it, because you're the boss, and if you can say, I believe, and it might not take you as many times as possible, Mindlessly doing hundreds of repetitions is may take a longer time, will lead to a change because you are putting in the effort. But mindless is not a great way to reach. Use the science to reprogram. That would be helpful. So how does this work? Imagine that you are in, and you think of your brain as a forest. There are lakhs and thousands and crores of connections possible between the neurons. You're in a forest. When you practice something or repeat a thought, then it's like you're creating a pathway. What happens when you regularly go from point A and to a point B? The grass doesn't grow there. It becomes cleaner. If the path is well defined, you can reach faster now. The good thing is that you can create these kind of pathways at any point of time, whatever you want to change. The challenge is if you don't use the pathway, what happens? It gets overgrown, you have weeds, and slowly, if you don't use it at all, it disappears. So let's say people say when you learn cycling, you never forget balance. True. But if you don't get onto the cycle for years and years, when you get on, your body takes a moment before it can recall. The body can feel, it can be a little challenging. You'll definitely have to be very careful before the pathway gets cleaned again and you can use it. But as we grow older, there are some paths which are permanently closed because we don't use those skills anymore, because we don't use those pathways anymore. As we keep getting older, the more we cut away from life and the more loss of these synaptic nerves happen. So how do we keep them alive? By learning new things. The more we learn, the more exposure our brain has to new activities, new knowledge, the more effort it needs to understand and create those pathways. All right. So the next slide, please. So previous. Yes. So what is it that your brain could benefit from? The brain can benefit from visualization and mental rehearsals. Meditation definitely helps to calm down the brain, improves our quality of connections, manage emotions. But visualization, so there are real world examples from Olympic gold medal or medal winners. Michael Phelps, the swimmer, he had mental videotapes guided by his coach. He watched the mental videotape of his races daily. He would visualize everything from perfect strokes to unexpected problems like his goggles filling up with water. And then how did he deal with it? How did he come out of it? Now, this does not mean that he won the race just by visualizing. It meant that his brain had worked out all possible scenarios, and suppose an emergency came up, it would not feel unfamiliar and throw him or off the guard. It was almost like an autopilot that he was running. Usain Bolt, after he broke his 100-meter world record, said that I just visualized and I then executed my plan. All creation begins in the mind. The light that we use, the bulb to everything, it starts in the mind. The creation begins in the mind with our thoughts, and that lights up the neural pathways. The more you practice seeing yourself successfully do something, even let's say you have a problem speaking up for yourself, if you visualize that you're able to confidently speak up, it would make a change to your brain's wiring. However, visualization has limited effect if there is no action to support it. So we want to make sure that there is an action that supports it. So let's do a little visualization activity. Can I ask for the next slide, please? So just add. Okay. So take a moment and write down or think of one meaningful goal that you currently have. Take something simple and small so that you can get the sense of the activity. Take a moment and visualize and think of a meaningful goal. You can close your eyes while you do this. Remember, your eyes open means that your brain is receiving that many cues and your RAS is active. Okay. Now visualize with your eyes closed everything that you can about your goal. What does this goal mean to you? Visualize what achieving it looks like. Visualize how you would feel when you accomplish this goal. Notice everything about your environment, about your body, about yourself. If this goal was a picture, an image, what would it look like? Notice how it feels in the body when you have achieved it. Notice how it looks like when you are interacting with people, having achieved it. Now, as you can sense and feel it deeply in your body, what achieving these goals look like, this goal looks like, think of what obstacles might appear and notice them showing up. It could be your own resistance. It could be your issues like, I don't have enough time. I don't know how to do this. I don't have enough support. Whatever comes up, notice the obstacles. These could be physical obstacles, or it could be your psychological things, barriers. Now, as you notice them, look at yourself that achieved the goal, that has already become successful. Deal with these obstacles. How will that part deal with these obstacles? Allow your confidence, belief in I can achieve, guide you or support you in finding ways around the obstacles. And as you find yourself solving those problems, open your eyes and then you can note down one action that you can take today. Okay. Also notice how you're feeling in your body towards that goal, from when you started to how you are after you've done this activity. And go ahead and type that in the chat box. All right. So would anybody like to share or just type in the chat box? Okay. Yes, please. I can see somebody's raised their hand.
May I speak, ma'am?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Ma'am. Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
This is Viji here, and I want to definitely talk about the things that you've given us as a task, which is wonderful. Meaningful goal for me right now, because it's meaningful. There are many goals in life, but the most focused right now that I have to achieve my doctorate, and I am on that path. Okay, and it was wonderful to visualize it. It gave me a sense of peace, I would say, and achieving it looked like one step towards a research journey, which I that is what the eventual result will be. It's just the beginning, I would feel.
Right.
And obstacles, for me, I consider obstacles are always my own resistance, I feel. Because that resistance, many a times, is due to barriers which actually are nothing but maybe small speed breakers that are occurring in daily routine
Hmm.
that we all face. And yes, but one action that I can take, well, I do believe I will reach there.
Hmm.
I'll have to catch up with the moment, my own momentum. I had to catch up with some rhythm I have to follow. And yes, one action, uh, I can go for that draft probably that is lying there in the laptop. And I'm getting that feeling today that I might do it. I might complete it today. Anyways, thank you so much.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
Thanks for sharing.
thank
Yeah.
you, ma'am.
So one of the things we don't do is ask our higher intelligence or our inner wisdom, wise self. We've all lived a life long enough for us to have experiences and knowledge and wisdom and ways to solve our problems. What we don't do often enough is ask ourselves what's the solution and what's the obstacle and how can I deal with this. Now, if you're coming from, I always fail here, or I don't think I can change, then that becomes challenging. And that's where things become, your results are slower to come through, or you have to push harder. If you believe I can and I have the answers, or find, okay, what am I going to do? You'll get your actions. So I can see, Abhishek, you've written an example, clear example, clear an exam, all right. Obstacle, no group to encourage, motivate, discipline, all right. So what can you do there to encourage or overcome the obstacle? So I think your action is good. Start or begin, even if it's not perfect, because you are now countering your belief, which thinks I must have all these conditions in place for me to be able to be successfully complete something.
Ma'am,
Right?
am I
So
audible? So,
yes, Abhishek.
as the obstacles part you have mentioned, so I think what I can do is after what you have made us to do, so I can think if I don't get any community in my area who is preparing for the same exam, I can take online tests to
Hmm.
compare where my preparation has reached in comparison with the other people who are preparing in some other remote area.
Right.
So I explore other options.
Yes, excellent. And that's that I need something, and then I can get it through some other means, if not the means that I wanted exactly. So then I'm supporting myself and supporting the belief that I can achieve it. Otherwise, the obstacles becomes my own reasons to me. I would have done it if I could have overcome, but I couldn't. They're almost like I can never overcome them. All right. Yeah. So great. So now through this kind of mental rehearsals, through kind of mental rehearsal should be about succeeding. But visualization can be exploring the entire landscape of whatever I want to accomplish, what barriers I will encounter, what ways I can overcome, and all of that together. And that's how you rewire your brain to solving problems in a different way, to reaching your goals in a different way. All right. Okay, so let's look at the next slide. And that's a quick framework for you. So you can it's called the science framework. And just the first thing to do is to set clear intentions. When I say set clear intention, it means, what does it mean? It means like, I giving the exam, I want to pass the exams. Is, let's say that's an intention. Instead of just saying that, I say I want to be clearing this exam by 2027 this year or something, right? So making it very specific. When we set clear intentions, our brain works much, our RAS and brain are aligned to working or guiding us towards that. Just like you notice the red cars more when you are looking to buy a red car, the brain start noticing what are the opportunities available, RAS, how you can succeed. You might find things online. You might find people meeting you, and you ask questions, or you look at them and say, okay, tell me where I can get more of this. And that might work for you. So I want to improve in public speaking. I want to improve my confidence, specifically my diction or my speech or my presentation by this period of time. That's what you do. First, set clear intention. Second, create cognitive alignment. So that can only happen when you start looking at where is the dissonance. I want to, if I said that I want to speak better, what could be an example of for your own selves, look at what could be an example where there is a dissonance. Just in the previous slide, so many of you pointed out, oh, but I think, I don't feel I don't have a group, or Vijay said that I have resistance. First, list down all the things that are not in alignment, and then flip them and create an alignment. Bring clarity there. Because just like you have examples in your life of where you resist, where you have had success, maybe with groups to encourage, there are times in your life when you have alone achieved Abhishek without anybody telling you anything, where Vijay has overcome her resistance and gone ahead and done things. So when you find out those examples, you're creating cognitive alignment. So what is my intention? My thoughts need to match those intentions. And that's the repetition, that's the new neural mapping, that's the visualization that will help your brain to support you. The third is to develop supportive habits. So what are supportive habits? Start small. So let's say I want to lose weight, and I know that I tend to, I'm not consistent about it. Then I can set up a small habit like, okay, I'm going to do Vajrasana after every meal for 5 minutes, or I'm going to walk. When I create supportive small habits, then I have also primed my brain for success. Because remember what encourages the belief to become stronger? When I succeed. When the loop becomes stronger, every time there is evidence. So if I say I'm going to join a gym, and 1 hour I'll go to the gym and I'll change my diet and I'm going to do everything, oh, brain's not buying it. Not going to happen. Didn't happen all these years. But if I say I'm going to include a fruit, 11 a.m., if it's 11 a.m., I'm going to open my box and eat a fruit instead of a snack. Easy to make changes. And then I need to list these wins. As I create these habits, make a list. It's called habit stacking. Keep adding, keep adding, keep adding. Now you have started to make the brain and your habit loop stronger. Engage emotional energy. What is emotional energy? Emotional energy is something which gives you power or takes away your power. When we lose our motivation, when we face obstacles and challenges, our emotional energy could be, oh, I'm never going to get through this. Why am I so dependent? Why is it like this? Why do I fail? I'm always like this. Takes away my energy. Again, linked to our thoughts. But if I use my emotional energy saying, well, you know what, people have failed. I find Thomas Edison extremely inspiring to think of my emotional energy. He had hundreds of inventions to his name. Most of them failed till the light bulb happened. But every time he failed, he was like, oh, you know what? I've learned 6,000 ways, I think for bulb, he said, of how not to make a light bulb. Or so do what you can to keep the emotional energy up. Consciously start noticing opportunities and the wins. Initially, it's a conscious effort. Remember, because it's not an automatic brain loop yet. But once it becomes a brain loop, you notice opportunities everywhere. And then you can say, oh, you know what? Everywhere I go, there are opportunities. Instead of keeping it, arey, kuch bhi nahi, I have to work so hard. I don't know. And I don't know. There are no opportunities. I don't know who to talk to. I don't know what to do. Then it keeps you stuck. All right. Committing to action and then taking the action. Next, evaluate and evolve. So committing to action is easy, but taking the action is not. And you might want to set up that check over there to make sure you're doing that. And then last is to evaluate and to keep evolving and growing in that. Okay, so it's a very simple framework that you can use to rewire your brain and reprogram. And let's look at, the last part, why it's important, because you want to look at the strategy needs change. Oh, this didn't work for me. I need to bring this. Otherwise, you'll be like, oh, this whole thing is not working and I'm a failure. This is about training your brain to keep realigning and looking for and believing that I will reach there and I can reach there. Right? So begins with a belief, and then everything else you do is to keep that belief alive and keep it going. The next slide, please. So just the whole thing, you could show that. So you want to take a moment to reflect what belief shapes your results most currently. What is the identity that you're reinforcing daily? Remember, your identity is very closely linked to it. So what action will you take in the next 24 hours? And I've given you some of the things that you could create for yourself. So, all right, so open for questions now. And anything that, and even what you've learned and take away. Remember, when you share what you've learned, it reinforces and rewires your brain as well.
Thank you so much, Mark, for the PPT. I think there's the last slide left. Before we move on to the Q&A,
Sorry?
would you like to say something now?
No, I was just saying I can see somebody's raised their hand.
Right. I'll just come to that.
Yeah.
Before we move on to the Q&A, I'd like to take 30 seconds of everyone's time for a quick poll. This will help us get to know you better and tailor future topics that we bring to you. A big thanks to everyone here today. Your presence and participation means a lot to us. A special thanks to ma'am for her time and patience. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us again on WishwaTalks. It's always a pleasure to have you. I'm requesting all of the participants to quickly interact with the poll so that we can move on to the Q&A as soon as we're done. While you're filling out the poll, I'm also going to mention about the future talks so that we can go with the question and answers uninterrupted. We have Professor Manisha Pathak, consultant of Global Citizenship Education. She's going to be talking about parenting in the age of smart everything. This is on 6th June, 11 a.m. onwards. We have PG Bhatt, President and Director of Pluma. He's going to talk about Your Vote, Your Voice, Understanding Electoral Road Revisions in India. This is on 20th June, 11 a.m. onwards. After that, we have Ritika Chawla, an educator and environment enthusiast. She's going to be talking about less is more, how minimalism can save the planet. This is on 4th July, 2026, 11 a.m. onwards. I request you to find the registration links in the chat box. It will be posted shortly. Okay, I'm going to close the poll. We can move on to the Q&A. Yeah, I'm going to unmute the first guest. Please raise the hand. Hello.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Kindly ask the question.
Hello, sir. Actually, I do not have a question as such, but in while I was listening to the webinar, मैम ने एक चीज बोली थी कि like belief क्या चीज होती है? What is the difference between thought and belief? And then she explained quite a lot of things. Well, I think belief is nothing but kind of being delusional about yourself. क्योंकि अगर आप अपने आप के प्रति ऐसे डिल्यूजनल रहते हो ना कि लाइक आई नो माई थिंग आई एम गुड एट माई जॉब आई एम स्टडिंग क्वाइट अ लॉट बिकॉज आई एम अ ब्रिलियंट स्टूडेंट और समथिंग देन योर ब्रेन स्टार्ट्स फोकसिंग थिंग्स लाइक अलाइनिंग इटसेल्फ उसी डायरेक्शन में और आपको और भी ज्यादा पढ़ने का मन करता है लाइक मैंने करके देख लिया है तो जैसे जाकिर खान बोलते हैं ना कि हो जाता है और सच में मतलब जैसे मैंने सुना कुछ लोगों को कि आप एक सबसे बड़ा डिस्ट्रैक्शन होता है इन अचीविंग योर गोल कि आपको अपनी कम्युनिटी नहीं मिलती है मतलब ऐसे लोग आसपास में नहीं है जो उसी डायरेक्शन में वर्क करना चाहते हो तो दिस इज माय एडवाइस एंड सजेशन कि social media use the social media you don't really need a person जो फिजिकली आपके साथ में प्रेजेंट रहे आपको सिर्फ सोशल मीडिया की जरूरत है कनेक्ट विद द राइट पीपल आस्क द राइट क्वेश्चंस और आपको नहीं पता कि राइट क्वेश्चंस क्या होते हैं राइट तो जस्ट स्टार्ट आस्किंग क्वेश्चंस इफ यू फील लाइक कि आपको बोलने नहीं आता है यू आर वेरी शाई यू डोंट नो हाउ टू स्पीक अप स्टार्ट स्पीकिंग अप जस्ट स्टार्ट ठीक है परफेक्शन इज अ मिथ आप जस्ट स्टार्ट करो सोशल मीडिया में लोगों से कनेक्ट करो कॉल पे बात करो चैट करो एंड पीपल आर रियली आउट देयर जो आपको हेल्प करना चाहते हैं राइट तो दिस इज जस्ट माय एडवाइस टू देम और बस हो जाता है मतलब और सबसे बड़ा हिंड्रेंस ये होता है कि किसी भी गोल को अचीव करने के लिए आई बिलीव कि आपके अंदर में ना वो जुनून की कमी होती है वो फायर नहीं होता है तो ट्राई टू मेक दैट फायर कि तुम्हें ये चीज क्यों करनी है राइट और अगर वो चीज आ जाती है ना कि नहीं मुझे बस पढ़ना है क्योंकि मुझे पढ़ना है तो फिर आप पढ़ना स्टार्ट कर दोगे आपका कोई सा भी एग्जाम हो वो सब कुछ क्लियर हो जाएगा राइट तो बस यही बोलना था मुझको
Thank you.
Thank you.
यस मैम
Would you like to add anything to that?
Sorry.
Would you like to add anything to that?
I don't think there was a question. I think she was expressing her thoughts and views, and that's that then. Yeah. We'll look if there's a question. I'll be happy to answer.
Sure. So, I'd like to add something to that because it's sort of, I mean, it doesn't go with my goals or because social media is tech dependent and I'd like to be away from tech as much as I can, not watch screens, not live in that era when there were no phones. I mean, back again. So it's different. I just like to add that. That's about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's not a replacement for people, definitely. Social media or social media connections. Yeah.
I'm going to unmute Mr. Shmuel.
Yeah.
You hear
Good
me
morning.
now?
Yes, sir.
Good morning. Yeah, a very interesting presentation. And I want to ask you how science, how interesting in science can support resolution problems of poverty in resolution different social problems and issues.
Wow, that's a little out of scope kind of question. But I think I can say that at this point of time, if you're really looking at how science can support, it can support through what Vishwa is already doing, Vishwa Foundation. What they are using is they're using their knowledge, awareness, skill, time, wisdom, and resources to solve some problems at the levels that they can. Now, definitely there have been a lot of scientific growth and awareness, and I guess it would need a willing human being to start putting that in into action. That's what I can think of. But can the problem be solved directly through that? I don't have a straight answer. Maybe Trishant can put in.
Not really.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank
very
you.
I
much.
think when it comes to manifestation, yeah, we always live in these loops, and subconsciously they program what we are creating or what we are visualizing. And when I have not, I can't say I have experienced poverty or anything like that, but I have lived without uh, dough in my pockets for about 2 years. I've lived in a jungle, and the only thing that actually got me through it is my thought to live without dependency, and also this constant positive energy creation within myself to not get affected by anything that is trying to bother me.
Yeah.
At the same time, I used to absorb all of the hindrances, and I've picked up more along the way once I stepped back into the city. It taught me how to deal with my greed, my lust, my everything, like basically. So, yeah, uh, poverty, I can't say, but you need that positive frame of mind. You constantly need to manifest that to get out of the shorter loops and be in a longer loop of achieving your goal. Yeah, ma'am. If you could.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really think that this is where you apply it to yourself. But if you look at it as a social issue that you want to deal with, then we need more and more collective effort in the way that's being taken by Vishwa right now, or the many foundations that do that.
Right, ma'am.
Many more people becoming aware of how they want to use the
Right,
resources.
ma'am.
Yeah,
Uh,
Vijay, I think, is saying something, and then I think Geeta has a question.
right. Just maybe.
So, Geeta, I would say that you use that science framework, put it together, and create very clear intention step by step on it. And then you'll become aware about what happens, what thoughts you think when somebody provokes you. Because somebody provoking you is just a trigger. They are just giving you the input. You do a lot of thinking and blaming or getting angry or upset, or how could they, or how could I, and why should they. That goes on in the brain for you, right? So when you can change that loop of thinking to be able to not be triggered by what they're saying, that's when you have your calmness and control in your hand. Because right now it's like my thoughts are not in my control. Somebody comes and says something to me, and then I am all triggered and reactive and bothered, and I lose my calmness. Right? To gain back control, I need to understand that whatever the other person does, that's them. Bring that separateness. And the demand that they should not trigger me. No, the world people are walking around just maybe we're wanting to trigger you and say, and remember, your belief is different from other people's belief. And the minute the belief war starts, there is going to be reaction. So what can you do in that immediate moment? Separate. Oh, their belief that makes them do something what they are doing. What's my belief? I want to hold on to my centeredness. My belief is that I can be calm. When you this time it looks like your underlying belief is if they trigger me and if they talk about this and they say this, I won't be able to be calm. So identify those things and then change that. Because people are nothing in your world. They are just triggers. They are bringing you awareness about your own self in terms of what bothers you and triggers you. Sort that out inside and nothing bothers you. All right?
Ma'am, I'd like to unmute Viji again.
Yes.
Ma'am, kindly unmute yourself, please.
Okay, hello, sir and ma'am
Ma'am, it'd
again.
be great if you could join through the camera too. I
Sure,
pinned
sure,
your
no
screen.
issues, no issues. I was at home, so that's why I was feeling a little this thing. I think I'm
Wonderful.
visible.
Yes, Vijay.
Okay.
Yes.
So what Sir said, no, I could completely relate to each and everything you said, because first thing was regarding the fact about the loop. Yes, in our daily life, especially I also live in a metro city, so we have this constant loop and circle of achieving, and it goes round and round. But we forget. So I also make it a point that at least I don't go to jungle, but that is great idea. I do go to the village, not remote, but village where the life is slower, where you can live on the minimal things, and you learn how to just on survival. There's no achieving thing at all there, and it's slow.
I think it's
And
contentment.
sorry,
It's contentment.
yeah,
Being
exactly. And
being
when you
content with lesser.
correctly said, because it's always enough for our needs, and we realize that basic things are enough. No doubt, we have to achieve for many reasons, not for all ourselves, but maybe for our loved ones. That is all part of social life that we live. But it should be always in our mind that we can survive on the bare minimum things also, and that is not that achieving, because that will not end. It is like a loop only that goes on and
Right.
on, which has no end. And that's what I could connect very nicely. And yes, thank you so much for sharing. So I thought to,
Thank you.
and my question, and there is one question too, that was
Please.
regarding when I filled the poll. There was something about practical tools. So for that, if you can have more sessions or something, means it's not about the technology or IT or anything, but even this also has tools which we people. I am from IT background. I don't have any knowledge about all this psychology or any kind of things, but I enjoy reading and I enjoy writing. So I'm blank about all these things. So when you say practical tools, so it excites me that what are the practical tools for manifestation, or maybe for having this kind of, not only for achieving my doctorate, but also for writing a simple poem, or just living in the moment, and many things. Like there are many things. So what are the practical tools? I want to know more about them, if possible. So I would like to request that. I want to know about it. Obviously, it's not possible right now to go in depth, but yes. So it was a wonderful session. Thank you so much,
Thank you for
ma'am.
joining
As
in.
well as okay. Thank you.
And would you like to mention any more tools that
Uh,
can be used?
I think for the one time that session that we've done, this is a good tool that you start with.
Satisfied.
And there are a lot of tools, but then this it it takes time for me to present each one of them. I can't just
Right.
mention like that. I think Shamini's
Uh,
raised her.
yes. I'm just unmuting them. Ma'am, kindly unmute yourself, please.
Hello, am I
Yes,
audible?
ma'am. Yes.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, ma'am, for your insight. It was beautifully explained out. I have two questions. One is these days I've been seeing people wearing these bracelets, crystal bracelets and rings. It's in silver in color, green in color, blue and all. So I'm very curious. I ask people why do they wear? Then they say that it aligns our energy with our planets and all blah 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 things they say. So I want to know how true is it, and do they really help us in manifesting our things faster and all. And the next question is, I was reading this book called Art of Letting Go. So there I have read about self-criticism. So how do we overcome the self-criticism and where to start?
Sure. Okay. So regarding the first one, I'm definitely not an expert on that, but there is color therapy. There are people who have different systems of beliefs that again, coming back to belief, that they believe works and they works in a particular way. Okay, so I guess that if it aligns with you, there is no harm in trying and experimenting with that. But I personally don't have something like science doesn't really just follow that. Like, so there's an athlete who wins a race wearing a particular socks and then believes because I wore those new socks that day I won, so I will wear the same one in every race that I take. Again, boils down to belief. So that's the only thing I can say about the first question about colors and do they work, do they not work, not my area of expertise. The second question you said about self-criticism, right? Again, criticism, self-criticism begins with what? A thought. It's just a thought that you are repeating to yourself. It's a judgment that you are making. So what you can do to overcome self-criticism is to ask yourself, what evidence do I have that, let's say if you're saying that I'm, give me a thought on self-criticism, criticism. Do you have something that you say to yourself?
Uh,
Hello?
I've just prompted her to unmute. Ma'am, could you unmute yourself, please? Yeah.
Yeah, she's.
Yes.
Yes, Shamini.
So,
A
yeah,
thought that you repeat.
the self-criticism, one example I would give is I have a stage fear of
Okay.
speaking in groups. So,
Ah.
so that's the thing. Like if I ever get a chance to speak in groups, speak in front of 20, 30 members, I always step back. I always feel that low confident. Like somewhere I feel like I might go wrong or I
Yeah.
might. So this kind of thing is there.
So it sounds more like I'm not good enough, or people will laugh at me, or I will mess up, and something like that, which is there. And it's interesting that you have that thought and that has become like a belief. Maybe you were younger, you tried sometime and it didn't work. So it's become like something which repeats in a loop in your head. And yet, right now, there are about 25 people in this group, and you have spoken very confidently and with great clarity about whatever you wanted to say.
Exactly, I'm trying out actually. I pushed myself to speak. These days, I'm
Sure.
trying. I figured it out.
Very good. So now you need to start building that alternate belief system. I do have this thought, but there is also evidence that I perform and I can overcome this. I do have this fear, but there are incidences, and here is an example of when I spoke up and I did quite a good job. So your brain also needs to see the evidence when you do well. Otherwise, it is programmed to your critical thoughts, have programmed your reticular activation system to note only the failures or notice only the anxiety. You see, I've been doing this for 30 years and I still feel anxious sometimes when I have to begin a talk or when I have to do something. But it's just anxiety. I know that I can look at it and then I can still do what I have to do. But when we have critical thoughts and you say that, then you're like, oh, see that? I'm anxious. Now, anxiety, when it is interfering with your speaking, definitely brain can't work very well. Okay. So you got to look at it and say, we all have critical thoughts. I do have this thing that I can't speak well or I have stage fear. Now, here are evidence of how I do well. And speaking in public is a skill. I can learn it with practice. Versus I have stage fear like it's a disease or something that is incurable. All right. So counter your critical thoughts, whether they're about yourself or others. Look for evidence. Look for data, okay, not imagination, that proves it or disproves it. So when you become more factual in your thinking, your habit is now to not just blindly believe anything, but to verify and check and hold what is true scientifically in your heart and head. Make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. So like, if you are shy about something and you act on working, I mean, on working on removing that, the action itself gives you a self-validation that automatically diminishes the self-criticizing part. Like, uh,
No,
no,
not usually, because what happens is, we see it as a one-off case. Oh, I
okay,
pushed myself. I somehow did it. So we see ourselves as brave people, not
huh,
necessarily countering that criticism. So we
right.
have to engage in that active self-talk where you are able to directly, prove that statement that I am shy. Oh, here is the evidence. At this time, I was not.
Thank you. I'd like to unmute Mr. Abhishek Sharma. So kindly unmute yourself on the phone.
First of all, I would like to thank Manisha ma'am for such an interactive presentation and session.
Thank
My
you.
my question would be that as the science framework, which is a very beautiful framework that she has mentioned in the presentation, in that first of all, I would like her to throw some more light on emotional energy aspect.
Hmm.
And the second thing is that that is the more deep question is that suppose if we want to reinforce a habit by using this science framework which is not aligned with ourselves. So I'll give you an specific example about myself. Like I live in a Jammu and Kashmir state. So in our state there are opportunities in government sector, or there are opportunities in tourism sector. Three, four broad sectors. There are only three, four broad sectors. Not There are not much more diverse sector like in other states. It is not an industrialized state. So if if any person who has a passion, doesn't have a passion in these broad sectors, but still he want to pursue those considering lack of opportunities, or so can he be able to, simple question would be, can be able to force himself using this framework to develop discipline into fulfilling something, or it should be like in movies, like you say that they have given us something like कि आपको जो भी मतलब you need to identify your passion. So the simple question is, if one wasn't able to identify his passion throughout in his whole life, so can he still be able to succeed in life using forcefully, or use these types of frameworks like science framework that you mentioned?
So I think first of all, I can do away with the word forcefully. I mean, there's nothing forceful. You can and you cannot. You want to, you don't want to. You use it. And second, my view of the word passion is a very loosely used word. Passionate about it. Find your passion. Find your purpose. Sometimes you're living your life, and getting through life is the purpose. And we don't need to be overly focused, because again we are programming an RAS, your reticular activating system, to evaluate everything you're doing. Is that purposeful? Is that not purposeful? Well, the purpose of life is living, and you're alive, you're breathing. So you're already meeting the purpose, you're fulfilling the purpose of life. But if you want to direct your energy towards some things, do I find fulfillment, let's say, doing social activities in the government job? Where will my interests lie? All of those things are things we discover over a period of time. Sometimes some people discover them early, sometimes little later. But irrespective of this question of am I passionate about something or not, that was never a question a generation ahead of us asked, because then the goal was simple: survival, earn money, get your family, get food on the table, live. India wasn't a land of opportunities the way it is today. It is different, still have our challenges. So look at your life first, set the right philosophy for life, choose that. Now social media, Instagram, online, you have multiple things being thrown around, and then we end up either getting confused or questioning. Right? So basic purpose, what is my purpose of life, is different. What do I want to do with my time here? And Sometimes you have to waste a little time to find out what is worthy of your time. That's also okay. Sometimes you may never find that in the way that satisfied you, but that doesn't mean there was no purpose to your life or that you didn't live a purposeful life, right? The framework is for you to bring focus to things you want in life, and that allows you to zone into whatever it is that would give you satisfaction. Now sometimes you win those, you complete that and you discover, oh, I like this, but I really wasn't my purpose. In my entire work experience, I've worked from play school to corporates. I've been a play school teacher, I've been teacher, I mean, all kinds of things I've done in the first 10 years of my career before I came to settle down with what I'm doing. Okay, and that's been the journey for me. Now, there are some people who took a one job and completed it till the end of their life. That was the journey for them. Both lives are purposeful. If we exist, we have a purpose, or we are meeting the purpose of life. Okay, so that's what I want you to keep in mind. Second, if you say only these opportunities are available, then you may not be open to, or your brain might not see what new is coming up next. A lot of times, new opportunities get missed because we don't even see them as opportunities. Because in that moment, we weren't open to them, right? There are limitations that exist in every environment and challenges that are very known about them. But beyond that is is where the imagination comes in terms of opportunities and how we use it, right? And the world is full of those kind of examples also. I keep thinking, I've never got one of those ever in my head. I'm doing all the regular stuff. I don't have that, I've not hit that nail which says, oh, I'm going to change the world with this thought. But that's okay too. I don't have to in order to exist. So your purpose of life is what you say is your purpose of life. Okay. And sometimes, like what Prashant was talking, it's surviving in the jungles, just surviving.
And second question was about emotional energy that you have
Right.
mentioned. Can you explore?
So your emotional energy comes from these kind of conversations that you have with yourself. If I say to myself, I can't see the purpose, I don't know if I'm passionate about this, I don't know if I can see that, then your emotional energy tends to be down. Our motivation doesn't come from outside, it comes from within us first. And yes, the environment can contribute and people can encourage us. And it's easier when there is group supporting you and having similar kind of goals that can motivate you to push yourself harder, right? But at the same time, that's not the only way. It is also what I need to provide for myself. Am I providing the right mental environment? Imagine if you have to walk with a chain tied, like two heavy chains tied on your feet. That's you with your negative beliefs. You got to set yourself free and then, get your, imagine now walking with the Nike latest comfortable shoes, how much more that will add to your speed. That's your positive self-empowering beliefs that add to your uh, movement and journey in life. So emotional energy comes from what I think and what I believe in. Now we cannot eliminate negative beliefs, but we can shift our focus. We can develop alternate positive belief system and train our brain to now become more hopeful and optimistic. And of course, we take better actions then. That's how we manifest. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yes.
Thank you. That was a good question. I'm sure a lot of people will find value in it.
Thank you, Abhishek, sir, for joining us. Ma'am, I'd like to ask a question.
Sure.
The reticular activating system that you mentioned about, does it get affected by our dreams or the other way around? Do our dreams affect the system, or
It doesn't
can
care
we
about
manage?
quality of input at all. If it's a dream which bothers you, it will just cut it out, suppress it. If it thinks that it's going to bring something, it will bring into your awareness. Its job is like that of the gatekeeper.
So what
So
if I
anything,
want to,
yeah, go
what
ahead.
if I want to manifest the opposite of nightmares? I mean, what if I want to manifest good dreams?
Visualize good dreams. That tool of visualization and seeing good dreams, or seeing that, knowing that I can. So now it's like, oh, I get bad dreams. I always do. Or it's like primed to remember them. So now you can affirm that when I sleep soundly. I remember only, the good dreams. And the
So
scary, yeah.
it can change your like what is collected in your subconscious
I
brain,
don't
basically.
know about that. I don't have evidence studies that I can, but I do believe that you can program or reprogram as you change your conscious mind with awareness. You can reprogram what goes on in the subconscious and unconscious as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Geeta, you have a question. You said, but we need to try to fulfill passion. Well, you can if you want to. There's no demand. There's no, God's not going to say, oh, you can't come back to my heaven if you haven't fulfilled your passion. Please go back to the earth. Doesn't happen like that. So our passion, there's not a like you have to fulfill your passion. You don't need to. You can if you want to. And that's not a condition of being alive. That's a condition of you choosing to. It's not even a condition of worth. People who have not fulfilled their passion are, no, that's not. That's just your choice.
And there's a question from Prerna Sharma, and it's a very funny question, but I really want to know what you would suggest. So, ma'am, whenever I try to do something to lose weight, I don't know, ma'am, why, but some problems automatically come. Suppose if I go for morning walk, then from the next day itself, बारिश शुरू हो जाता है, और suppose किसी का डेथ हुआ, और when I join gym, मैम कुछ ना कुछ होके मेरा कंटिन्यू हो नहीं पाता है. And I know I continuously think that मैं जब भी कुछ कहती हूँ मेरा कुछ ना कुछ hindrance आ जाता है. So, ma'am, why? My question is do I how do I reprogram my brain without about this?
Yeah, so you can see that you have a very strong belief. मैं जब भी कुछ करती हूँ कुछ ना कुछ hindrance आ जाता है, right? Now in your life you are doing many more things other than gym and walk also, ना? वो तो successfully आप कर रहे हो. But your brain is not recording your success in many things that you have been able to continuously win over, but constantly looking at, oh, I failed in this, and setting up the failure loop for you. Right? So what if one day it rained? Walk in the house, do that visualization which we did in the exercise. What will I do if it starts raining? What will I do if some problem comes up like this? Oh, I can go for a walk in the evening. Oh, I could just walk in the house, like a bear who's in the cage. You can just keep going up and down. I'll do 15 minutes. If it's 7 a.m., I will walk. If it's 7 a.m. alarm rings, I'll get out from the bed. So first starts with empowering yourself with those thoughts. And every time you're seeing success, say you did it this time. Or you did good. And then keep building on it from there, right? So can you see that you are actually successful in many things and you can apply the learnings from that to this area of your life? But you can't do that if your negative programming stays there. So start with some positive affirmations. I know how to do many things well and I can learn to be successful here too. Start with those kind of internal conversations. Does that make sense, Prerna? Yeah, of course.
Yes.
You're right, Abhishek. Yeah. Compare ourselves with our first step and somebody's 100 and step, and then we are like, oh, I'm not good enough. Yeah. We do that. That's again habit, right? So if you see between thoughts and bad habits, thoughts and habits, if we just start cleaning that up, your pathway to success. setting it up for the manifestation. By the way, I also do a lot of work which is in the like heal your life space. You can heal your life. Louise's work, which is based completely now. She's taken a lot of the scientific work and turned it into very simple work around affirmations and manifestation. There's also the forgiveness work that I spoke about. It definitely frees up so much of your emotional energy and things which are locked inside you. The minute you are free, what you notice, what you start seeing, how you start dealing with life changes. And then it looks like, oh, wow, I'm having some amazing results. Some manifestation thoughts to calm, or maybe affirmations. Okay. So can you put a thought which bothers you, and then we can convert that, Tita? And if you'll notice that you are calm most of the times, and sometimes I'm triggered, you can start with that. We are bothered by if the fact is that it's not like you're triggered all the time or you're not calm all the time. Start noticing. The affirmations also need to feel more real to you and more connected and acceptable to you. If they are something completely, I'm calm and I handle everything efficiently, yeah, it's a good thing to begin, but you may take a little time to reach there. To start with, I'm calm in these spaces and I'm not able to be calm here. I can learn to be calm. Calmness is a way of being. I can slow down. As I slow my breath, I have more control over my body. As I start understanding what triggers me more, I gain more control over myself. As I rework and relearn how to think more positively about myself and how I handle things, I gain more confidence. And that's the most challenging part sometimes when we have them, because we can't, family members means that's in your environment. And sometimes before one trigger is down, you have one more available for you to get triggered. So yeah, but separate out. See if you can take some maybe individual support as well if you need to, so that you are able to see that you are not in the control of what they do or say. Right?
I would say, yeah, I thought I was.
Yes.
Uh,
Okay.
it's like stimuli from people. No, you don't feel that stimuli. Like you just do not get affected by their presence or whatever. Like so,
No,
sometimes that has to be done
sorry.
with
So
family members.
I'll correct you there. You will get affected, but you choose how you're going to
You will-
respond there or what you're going to, because it's your
Exactly.
programming, no? It's your belief. It will
Right.
trigger like this. But do you want to go with that, or do you want to be with what you believe or how you hold yourself true? That's the choice.
Man, just like pain is something that actually happens in here rather than uh, it happens physically, but then the physical part is a fraction of a second, and then it's in here.
Hmm.
So, how you get affected by people is also like sometimes pain, not physical, but it is there
Yeah,
inside, and
absolutely.
you can choose to have it under your control, like not get
Process,
affected or
yeah,
not feel that pain.
process that pain. If it's a family member, then you've
Process
collected.
that.
Then you need to do some work to clean out that energy within you.
Thank you, ma'am. Uh, Requesting all of the participants to put in any more questions that you have in the chat box, or you can just use the raise hand tool. Is not talking a solution? Geeta ma'am is asking.
I don't know how that would work, because your problem is not them. Your problem is what's happening inside the head. That won't stop now if you don't talk also. You will continue to have that chatter in your head, which is using your energy. So that is your internal resolution that you need to arrive at. And I think counseling or speaking in that kind of a space can be helpful in a situation like this. Because if it's a family member, then it's just buried under that no talking, but the situation hasn't changed. Okay. Meditation helps you to definitely calm down the energy, but it doesn't solve the problem internally for you. Yeah, Abhishek has suggestion saying that setting boundary might be a solution, but then I would say that unless I know the problem more in detail, I don't know
Right.
what could be really helpful in this situation.
Right. Some situations can be very unavoidable. So,
Right. So what would work would be there, but I suggest that you look for what could be a inner resolution for you or what you really need. And that's why I suggest that talking to a counselor would be something that could help you find your way through. Welcome.
thank you for joining, Adita. I think we've covered all of the questions, the chat box, and no one is using the raise hand tool anymore. In case anybody has more questions, you can write to us. We will also share the emails from the PPT with all of the participants and also share the recording of the webinar so that you can share it with your loved ones, with your colleagues. And thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. If you'd like to say anything towards the end, post that you'll see a breakout room link on your screen.
No, I thank you so much for having me here, and thank you everyone for being here. You've been engaged, you've been asking questions, and I hope what I shared added value to you. And I look forward to more learning and growth along with everyone. All the very best. Thank you.
I'd like to thank all of the participants for joining us today. If anybody's missed any part of the session, I'm going to paste the link of this particular session in the chat box so that you can save it and rewatch it. Also share it with your friends and family. Thank you, ma'am. You'll
Bye.
see a breakout room link on your screen shortly. Kindly join into it.
Uh,
I hope to see all of the participants again towards the next week for a very interesting session again. Thank you so much for joining us today.